Mr. Keshe. This is Danny from Ireland. I'm coming more from a housewife's angle here, trying to follow the teachings. And
you mean you're a homemaker?
Yes, thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
Very, very important job.
Thank you. When we were speaking about tritium, I was wondering, when we made our cold caustic and threw in the Coca-Cola bottlenecks and a bit of aluminium foil, have we kind of partly produced tritium in a plasma state or in a gas state?
You have produced atomic hydrogen in a gas state. You haven't produced tritium. The production of the tritium comes by encapsulation of CH3. It's in your nanomaterials, you produce it in a Coca-Cola bottle, you produce it because of the nano layer. Do you understand?
Not fully. I think I have to let that sink in now.
Okay, let me explain to you something very interesting. This goes back into atomic nuclear physics. And we're all clever enough to understand this nowadays. Again, go back into the structure of the Coca-Cola bottle. I do it this way because most of you remember it this way. This is the structure of the Coca-Cola bottle. Yeah. You have a CH bond, which at the skin strength does this job. You have to understand what I use is a copper, what I call parachutes, we used to call it. This copper itself has a spectrum of the fields, which one of them is zinc in it as well. And this is one of the isotopes in the structure, which in the strength, if you look at the zinc, has a common isotope and strength the same. So what you have done in the caustics here, without the aluminum or with aluminum, you have a creation, you have created a condition of both. Let's say this has a zinc, but this one doesn't. So in the plasmatic condition, you have created a condition of the CO2, creation of the carbon, which attracts this carbon and in a chain releases hydrogen. Some of the hydrogens are bounded as triple hydrogen, or what we call, then it becomes what do you call it, tritium. When you put the aluminium in, you produce hydrogen which now interacts with this. You have to understand the full spectrum of the knowledge in atomic nuclear physics. When you say copper, is not just copper one isotope. Even if it says 99.9999% pure copper, it means it's pure from other elements, not from the total isotope range of the copper. And in that isotope range of the copper, there is something which links with the zinc. So in that process, this becomes your electrode. Exactly like in your salt water. So now this creates a carbon gravitational field, which this carbon gravitational magnetic field pulls the carbon from the plastic. Now you have the hydrogen free. And in the structure, atomic structure, some of them add up to CH3. And now, as a molecule, they're in a gas, in the transformation or the pull, as it's trying to become what you call CO2, with a lack of oxygen within the confinement, releases the what you call the CH3 or the surplus hydrogen plasma in atomic structure of tritium. Very, very small amount, but very effectively can be used. When you put aluminium foil in this Coca-Cola bottle, now you make the ratio of the hydrogen in respect to the carbon so high that they cannot become a CH3 attachment. So you have a huge amount of what you call hydrogen plasmatic condition traveling through a nanostructure, which means they cannot link up to, because the minute you put a caustic in the bottle, you have nano coated the bottle. So you are working in a total gas state condition. The minute you shake the Coca-Cola bottle to start the paste process, or when you put the caustic in it, you have nano coated. In the environment inside the bottle is totally plasmatic, absolutely plasmatic. And also your hydrogen does not behave as atomic hydrogen, it behaves as a plasma, and in a concentration of the flow, and ones who find themselves, because they came from the same plastic of the same strength, common denominator, then they become Tritiu. You have to understand the full process in its entirety. And if you find out you do the Coca-Cola bottle with some copper plates, you don't get any reduction or destruction of the cap, but you use some certain materials and you see the cap destruction. And this is important. This is what we try to teach, the totality, because then it allows us to understand everything. There is no random chance. We can dictate, we can even dictate what kind of plastics we want to do. And for example, not all the plastics release H3 or CH3 or CO2, CH3, tritium at the same time, or some hydrogen atoms. The hydrogen released plasma in this condition always end up in a plasmatic condition and carries the full spectrum. Because even though you look at the neutron as a totality inside, it's the ring inside the core which creates the pressure to rotate, and you can dictate some of it. And that's why you got to use the same kind of material, the same kind of ratio transfer. And you can even fly a Coca-Cola bottle if you understand exactly what you're doing. If you rotate it or create a rotation of the plasma inside, which can be done very easily, then you will see the bottle lifts up. I've seen it happening. I couldn't explain it now. It took me years to be able to understand it. You touch with the bottle, it feels like it's got no attachment. It's still there on the table. It's not like, you know, before when you start the process with it has no weight to it. Because now it has integrated into it some of the plasma, which is the strength of the water where it came from. I'm sure some of you who understood this should be able by next week show us some lift, or at least effects of it. Use brass to create a condition of the any mixture which releases hydrogen. You see in nickel, what do you call it, or zinc, iron, or nickel, another element, to create a hydrogen. Understand, you have to create a hydrogen of the strength of the field of the planet. As I said, remember what I keep on saying. Just because it's got mustache is not your uncle. Just because you created atomic hydrogen inside with the tritium has the strength of the gravitational magnetic field hydrogen of the center of the planet. But then you have interact and it gives you position. Earth has a positioning because of its central core, because it came from the same sun. This is what you have to understand. If it's another material, if it came from another solar system, you put it here, the same structure as our Earth, it might go outside the solar system or go and sit next to the sun and still have its position. This is how electrons find their positions, and we find them in different layers and stackers in the atomic structure in the matter state. I like your housewives, the way you test things in the kitchen, but be careful the pan doesn't fly.
We'll try. Thanks.
Thank you very much. You do not need, sorry, one second. You do not need motors to create rotation. If you understand the play between what we keep on saying, gravitational magnetic field forces, you can create rotation of the plasma and it builds up. Take your time. Go back to the beginning, some videos we saw a couple of years ago, how the top layer gases of CO2 or whatever were rotating in the pot. We saw with Douglas how they could boil up. If you understood that and you can create a rotation of it, you don't need motors. There's no motor in the universe. It's the positioning and the strength field. Use a combination of the matter, dry GANs, liquid GANs, nanomaterials, and then you find out you achieve rotation very, very easy. In a way, if you look at it, you introduce what they call God particles into it, because you decide what's going to be appearing. And as they try to find their position, they feel for position, they create a rotation, and you can find motion without the motors. The only thing left for me is just to come and spoon feed you to start you flying. But I think you have enough knowledge. If you take this knowledge a step further, for example, and you create enough atomic gravitational magnetic field mass in the center core of, let's say, a tumor, and you make your gravitational field slightly lower in the strength than the tumor matter, you can empty the tumor in no time. And that's all you need to do. Hydrogen GANs. You go for the structure. You need to take any disease with man, any disease, any way, shape or form, except viruses. Any disease with man has a table of 4 legs. You just need to take one leg out and the table breaks up and the disease disappears. Understand this. This for our doctors. I know some of you are listening in the background. If you understand this, this is the corner, the table of the structure of the disease in man. If you create any condition that you can take one of the legs of this table out, the table will fall. There'll be no disease because the protein to support that disease doesn't exist. And the easiest one is hydrogen. This is why when we say you can cure cancer in seconds, in the time when you understand the process, that's all it is. You create gravitational magnetic field of the GANs of the protein, which has created the cell of the cancer. Now you take a leg off, there is nothing there. And all of them have that strength. That's why they became part of the cell structure. That's why you will understand in a very, very near time, diseases which are amino acid based will not exist, be it Alzheimer's, be it cancer. This is not that we claim we can cure any cancer. It's understanding the knowledge that what we have developed and what interaction it creates. And hydrogen is the lightest one to produce. You can do the same. A table where one of the legs is missing, which is usually a hydrogen, of a given strength, you add that leg, you support it, it goes back, it finds its position in the DNA, and the genetic deformation disappears. The technology of the health of the man now has to go in understanding the plasmatic strength of the total energy spectrum of the hydrogen, carbon, or nitrogen. But don't forget, for that amino acid to be created, all the neutrons should have had a common denominator strength in gravitational or magnetical. That's why they're there together. That's why they became the cell of the skin, or they become the skin of the kidney. This is what the health knowledge seekers have to understand. And when we say that you can, what you call, eradicate cancers or diseases, is now that you understand the process of the hydrogen, is to understand the totality of the knowledge. And you're getting there. And if you look at it, make the leg of the hydrogen another planet, another star destination, another galaxy. Would you like to build it, add to it, which means you attract yourself to it, to add to it, because it sees you as addition? Or you want not to be of it, of the different one, which pushes you back to a position where you want to be in another galaxy or another planet or whatever. Change the understanding the meaning, and then the rest is very easy. Any other question? I asked the doctors yesterday's teaching to join today, and I hope you understand and understood what needs to be done. You can support understanding the knowledge. This is what we had in, as I explained in a discussion in when we were in Accra conference. They were all nuclear physicists in one form or another to do with nuclear industry, most of them scientists who were there. And the problem with them was that they are nuclear, and they forgot themselves that 50 years ago they were called atomic. Now they went a little bit more, now they're nuclear, a bit more crazier. Now we've gone a bit crazier, we've gone inside the nucleus structure, which is a plasma, and they're happy with it. It means now they become a new generation of the scientists that nobody else is, so they're proud of it. They're atomic nuclear plasma physicists. And this is the evolution of the science we have to understand. Now we work with the plasma, and understanding the work of the plasma, we understand the operation of the mass, which is gravitational magnetic field strength. And then each one has its own strength, birds with birds, wolves with wolves, and everything else with each other. And it's the same applies in the strength of proportion of the gravitational magnetic field. Now, as I said, we don't teach. Now we're going more in depth. Teaching is finished. Understanding the implication and application is the prime job. Those of you who understood, listen to these teachings today. Cut out the bits which is nothing to do with the Universal Council, pole section or the others out, and listen to the teaching, just cut it out and just to do with the plasma and what we did in this first section, and now you will understand. But within hours, any of you will start showing left hand motion. But you have to understand. You have to understand. You have a problem. Your aluminium came, or your CH3 is from this part. You created as hydrogen in a condition which is a matter. The aluminium was folded and rolled and it came from South America. And you want to fly in New York or in Philippines, God help.